watching. Right, without wasting more of your time, I had greeted, I hope my greeting did get across. Colleagues, if Sibongile threatens you, just don't worry, I'm stronger than her, I can beat her. So you can greet each other, guys. You are a team. I believe you are able to greet each other even as you interact. Okay. Just trying to find the right manual to share. I have it open, but I kept sharing the wrong screen. As well, the interesting thing is I am on load shedding, so my screen looks somewhat funny. I have a bigger screen, but when it's sort of load shedding, then my bigger screen becomes unavailable, and then I get the smaller screen, which I do not like. So I believe you've covered module 1, and you've spoken about these technical meetings with Mr. Maposa. I'm just perusing through, giving you an overview of what we spoke about yesterday. And I think at the point I was presenting, the engagement for me had already gone to say, please practice these things whilst you are here. So in the meetings that you are in, consistently working as teams and in whatever participation you are having in the groups that you are in, and please practice the things that we are using or learning whilst we are here. So you'll see it's theory that we present. Practical, we expect you to implement when you go into the teams. I think that's the point I am driving at. And a lot of the conversations that we're having here consistently will be different as well. You'll go to a work environment, which is what I was saying yesterday, and you will find in that work environment, things are not as we discussed here, because in another work environment, I remember yesterday I spoke of a stand-up meeting. In another work environment, the stand-up meeting is held just at the door downstairs, it's held at the cafeteria, it's held at different. So what we discuss here is introducing the concepts and giving you the little experience that you can in training. But essentially, you will find that what you've got to learn in the work environment is sort of founded on the principles we introduce here. So I want to continue today. I think I'm on module 2, unless I'm mistaken. I want to believe these are conversations I've seen Mr. Maposa speaking to, but I've touched base on them as well. I'm interested as well in a few other concepts, and I think I'll come back to some of them, just brush over them quite a lot, because I was here listening on the conversation from the beginning until here. I'm trying to find where Mr. Maposa stopped, but I'm seeing the interesting concepts that I'm coming across consistently. Maybe as I do that, the one thing I wanted to take from you guys from yesterday was questions. Have you got questions so far? Have you got questions so far? Have you got questions so far? Have you got inputs? Have you got comments? Have you got any observations from yourself? And I think I want to start a fire and ask, how is it going in those groups, groups where you guys are interacting with each other? How are things there?
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Mr. X, how are you? Good morning. Hi, guys.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, Mia.
We were having some internet issues, sir. So Mr. TC is still getting logged in.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, sir, for letting me know. Thank you, sir, for letting me know.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. the question is, Kambanjani in the teams that you're in, are you seeing any of the things I'm speaking to? Is there anything you want to take and implement in those teams? How is the use of jargon in your teams? Talk to me, colleagues. Talk to me, colleagues. The conversations we're having around technical meetings and all of that, how are you guys finding it in the teams that you're in? Do you guys have agendas? Do you guys appoint roles? Those are the questions I'm asking. Do you think it's doable with the little teams that you're in, and so on and so forth? Have you got any questions for me? Have you got any questions for me?
No, so on my team, I'm in group 4, so on my team, and then it's a good teamwork. So everyone, and then they include themselves, and then we're all involved in everything that is being done.
Perfect. So let me put you on the stick, if there's such a thing. Who is responsible for taking notes in your team?
In my team, sir.
Yes, in group 4.
We don't have that kind of person yet, because we all work separately. So, but and then we contribute on whatever we are doing in the group.
So there is no allocation of roles and responsibilities to say Edgar does this, Sibongile does that, Olaf does that, and so on and so forth. Michelle does that. There's no such.
No, not yet, sir. I think, and then it's something that is still to be arranged.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm asking one individual, but other team members can, or other teams can also contribute. I've put you on the stick, Mr. Edgar. Is there anyone that takes notes? Do you have to make decisions in the meetings you're in? And is there anyone who takes notes to say, I'm noting down, this is the decision, or is everyone just all over the place and finding information? What's the strategy in your team?
No, everyone is all over the place, like I said, and then we do things on our own pace, on strategy, but and then we come back with the good results.
Okay. Yes. So there isn't much decision making where you guys have to vote, for example. We discussed a strategy yesterday for making decisions. So you are saying all the individuals go out and make decisions, then you want a final report presented in the group. You come back, you've just done the work that you deliver here.
Yeah, but I think what you're advising, and then it's something that we have to do, because it's also a skill. Because the way it was happening, I think it was because it was the start of it. Yeah. So because now we are in there, so it's something that we have to sit down as a team, and then we have to arrange who is best at what. You see?
Okay.
Yeah, because the way it is now, and then we all contribute, we put everything on the table, and then we vote to see which one is best that we can go for.
I hear you.
Yes.
All right. Anyone else wants to take a swipe at it? Anyone else wants to take a swipe at it? Anyone else says, this is how it happens in our team? You can even say, yeah, Edgar is speaking for my team as well. That's how it happens in my team. Thanks. I did gossip with you guys yesterday that we watch these recordings. We see what's happening in those teams.
Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
For group 3, like, for example, we have a task, right? And then we'll list what we need to do for those tasks. And then people will choose what they want to do, what they feel like they're strong at. And like everyone will do like that then. How we do.
Okay. So, and I'm asking again, maybe I suspect that's Lerato, but I want to check in your experience, does it work that one person goes out, does what they've got to do, come back and give it to the team. Is it effective? Does it work for you guys?
Yeah, it does work for us because everyone gets to contribute and people chose what they want to do. So you weren't forced to do something.
Okay. And again, I'm inviting everyone to the conversation. I want to challenge and check. I've put people on the stick now. In that scenario, yes, it works, I agree. But do you think you guys are avoiding a scenario where you have to sit together and make decisions together, Lerato? Are you avoiding, or have you discovered it's difficult to sit together and do the task? Then there's a network break, there's a network issue, or someone doesn't understand this. So it's better you just continue working as individuals and bring the information here complete and done. Is it difficult to work together? It's a question.
It's because of network and load shedding. It's hard to all of us sit together because we all have load shedding at different times. So it's better if you have your own work and you can work on your own schedule and network. It's more effective that way. Or else if we all decide to meet at one time and then one person has load shedding and no network, then we can't work because we're waiting for that one person and we won't get the work done. So it's easier if we all do, we all contribute a little, or we delegate the work and then we all come together.
Not believing you, Lerato. Not by
that's how it works. It's not difficult for us to work because after we've gathered all of our information, right? We'll come on Teams and then we discuss. We'll go through let's say someone did question 1, right? So that person will bring that information and then we'll all look through it and discuss it and ask questions on that information. That's how we all work together at the end. After we've all gathered and researched everything we had, we come together and we go through everything together. And once we're all satisfied and questions have been asked, that's when we present it or it's finished.
I want to hear sort of run away. I want to run away from putting Lerato under the bus and the teams. But I want to check and let me excuse Lerato. I'm obviously not buying the story here. Imagine if you can work in an office with fiber and then they say, come and work here. I'm sure that the same scenario would sort of arise that says, yeah, now we have to learn how to work with each other. It might not be easy. I think that's what I'm alluding to, but I'm not saying only for Lerato. I think it's quite difficult to work with people in my personal experience. Is there anyone that wants to support me? I hear Lerato, I hear Edgar. I have a hand. If my teams can tell me who it is, and I can acknowledge the hand. Who has a hand up? Please go ahead.
Hi, Mr. X.
Yes, sir.
It's TCM.
It's Mr. Maposa. Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon, sir. How are you?
You finally made it.
Finally.
Now the ghosts that were attacking you attacked me as well, sir.
Is it?
So I was a bit delayed as well this afternoon, but we're finally here.
No stress, no stress. I know, isn't you had said that request for me yesterday, so we're still honoring that. So I just wanted to, because I've been listening in to what people have been saying, and I just wanted to make a comment, especially based on what Lerato just said now.
Please say that again, sir. I lost you for a second.
I'm saying I've been listening in to what you're saying, to what Lerato was saying. So I just wanted to make a comment based on what she's saying right now.
Her input, yes. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. So Lerato, I understand what you're saying, but now the issue with that is the whole reason why you're doing this, especially in level 5, is to teach you industry experience, because level 5 is according to the certificate, this is the last certificate that you get in terms of systems development, which means the next level that you're going for is the diploma level. So now, if you are doing this, if you're doing this, right? So now level 5 prepares you for industry experience at the end of the day. So now, like in the industry, especially in the development space, you will never work alone. That is something that will never happen. You will never work alone. And regardless of where you are, you're going to have to work with people. Each and every time you're going to work with people. And there are people, like people have got challenges, people have got explanations. They will say everything they need to say, but the project still needs to be done, and the client still needs to have their needs catered for. Otherwise, you lose client and you lose business. So now, when you're saying that you cannot work with people because someone will say no, like load shedding and everything, we understand that, but you cannot delegate work that is supposed to be done in a group. Rather, have the maximum in terms of the number of members in a group. Let's say you are 5, at least 3 and above, you can go on. But if you're 2, if you're 1, that's no longer a group work. That is just someone who's doing the work on behalf of the group. So that is not group work. It doesn't work like that. And I'll be honest with you, the projects that you're going to do this year, let me be straight. Let me say this straight for you right now. The projects that you have this year, each and every group is going to have its own project that you're going to put in your portfolio, that you're going to be taking and saying, okay, my employer or my company that's or prospective clients, this is what I did. And this is the work that I've done. This is an app that I've created. And in that app that you have, you're not going to work alone. You're going to be working with other people. So each group that you have, each group that you are part of, you are going to have a different, like group 1 is going to have a different project from group B, from group 2, and group 2, they're going to have their own. Group 3, they're going to have their own. The reason why we're doing that is to avoid plagiarism. That's one issue that was spoken by the assessor that we had a discussion over, that each and every person is going to have their own, each and every group is going to have their own project. And because of that, now when you're pushing your projects to GitHub, like I said, that's one of the reasons why you have to use GitHub. When you're pushing your projects to GitHub, each and every person is going to list the contribution percentage for each and every person. It's going to show that, okay, so-and-so contributed 5%, so-and-so contributed 90%, so-and-so contributed. So now, imagine now, if you have to go to your employer or your prospective employer and say, okay, this is a project that I did. And when they're looking through your contributions, they're seeing you only contributed 5%. So it doesn't work. Hence, when it comes to group work, regardless of whatever, like we're in South Africa, I understand, like with load shedding, which is a fact. That's one of the reasons why, like I've been MIA for a while also, but today, still with the same problems that we're currently facing, with the same load shedding problems that we're facing, I'm here. I had to make a plan, because at the end of the day, the lessons have to continue, lessons have to go forward. Because now I cannot say, I know I'm going to ask Mr. X to take my lessons forever, like for how long, if I don't make a plan. You see, so at the end of the day, you and your group have to sit down. You have to face whatever issues that you have, and you have to face them head on. You have to address them. If let's say you are facing that load shedding issue that you're saying, which I understand totally, rather have at least minimum the 50% minimum of the people attending, and then the other guys, and then whenever they can meet, and then they can meet also, and then they discuss, and then they bring their contributions into the group. I think I've said everything that I needed to say. I hope whatever that I've said right now is taken with is accepted, because
no, Mr. TC, I'm not complaining about my group. I was just making an example that that's why sometimes we need to delegate our work. I'm not saying my team members have used load shedding as an excuse to not do our work. We've always done our work regardless of the load shedding. It was just an example I was saying to Mr. X. It hasn't been a problem in my group.
Yeah, I threw you under the bus there, Lara.
Yeah,
it's me.
So I'm not complaining, or I'm not saying that it's a problem. My group is perfect. We're fine.
Okay, now
Okay.
please also note, Lerato. So the demonstration Mr. Maposa is putting, just
But
that it
yeah, I
has the
understand
name.
what he's saying. Yeah.
And yeah, so it's speaking to everyone. And thank you, Mr. Maposa. I think what you guys will see is that we are basically running away, and that's the point I was also saying, to say I'm not buying the reasoning that says we're not working together because of this and that. Not only in Lerato's group, and this is the setup we've seen. I think that's what we're saying as well, Lerato. We've seen this setup in all the other groups. That's what happens. You guys come decide, you do that, you do that, you do that, then you come back and you put it together. That's what we've seen you guys doing in the groups that we've seen you working in. And then we are correcting that. I think that's where Mr. Maposa is coming in to say, I also did not buy the story as well, by the way. So we are saying you've got to avoid our spelling it out in as simple as it is. It is not easy to work together. It takes time for a team to gel and work together. You've got to understand, let's set an example and take the same load shedding story. You must synchronize long load shedding schedules. That alone is not easy, right? That alone is the biggest challenge. You have load shedding at 3, I have load shedding at 4, then my battery dies. But we must find a time and agree we must work together and do this. Let me get to what Mr. Maposa is alluding to. Making a decision, like I mentioned yesterday. What do we start with? Because Samgelo is used to technical issues, he wants to start and check what resources do we need for the laptop that we must use for the coding. But we've got Lerato, who's a good developer. Lerato wants to start with the code. So we've got all these different dynamics that we must put together and be able to say, don't give Lerato development work just because she's a better developer. Don't give Mr. Mkhize technical work because he's a technical guy. But look at a way that says, yes, those facts are facts we cannot avoid, but let's look at how do we sit around the table and put together the work and achieve what we've got to achieve as a group. Then it goes to, I'll set an example, we've got Masikolo, who's been smiling with her mother there for the past 30 minutes. They've been talking about the weekend they're going to. There's a family reunion on the weekend at Masikolo's house. So that's what they're talking about there. So Masikolo is a good financial person. So now Masikolo listens and says, Ish, so this is the resource, these are the resources needed. This is the money we have. And these are the people we have, and they want lunch now. Then Masikolo starts getting stressed and emotional, and she starts saying, you're not getting an i7, guys. You're not getting, no, not with the project budget that we have. And then Masikolo just throws the whole meeting into a difficult setup. Mr. Mkhize says, an i3 won't work. And then, yeah, it just goes, you've got to put all those dynamics together. I hope you are hearing what we're saying. Now you sit around the table and you've got to then come up with a way to overcome these different dynamics and sort of use the skills we're providing here to say, all right, we've got to put up the big mandate is this one, break it down to procedures in this team. Decisions will be taken like this, participation will be done like this, which is where chairperson of the meeting comes in, which is where a scriber comes in, who's leading the discussion. Because if you just come in and start working, you will discover 2 days into the project, you are actually not making any progress at all. Because Mr. Mkhize understands resources of a machine. He went and found an i7, came back, i7, boom, that's what we need. And another one went and found a networking spec, boom, excuse me, boom. This is the networking spec that we need, comes back, and then you start checking, but who has actually sat down and looked at the program description? What are we supposed to develop? No one did that. You will, because everyone will look at what they understand, and you'll find you are missing some angles of it. So you've got to have a structure, you've got to have a strategy, procedures that guide how you guys are working around the table. Then I did mention as well, we went all the way, I will put everyone in trouble here that was in level 4 with me. We spoke about tones in level 4, how you should communicate with people. And we spoke about a whole lot of dynamics in level 4 that was setting you up to say, here we are in a team. How do you, one, understand different cultures? That's what we did in level 4. But in level 5, we're now saying, speak to, you've got feedback to give. How do you respond constructively to feedback? That's what we touched on yesterday. So proceeding from there, we're saying you've got to then implement what we put together in the learner guide. We're saying delve deep into it and make sure that you're able to sort of then apply your understanding, your skill set in making sure you don't find yourself in a situation where, one, you've offended someone in the team. Even if you have, how do you resolve conflict? And all of those things are then part of what we discussed in level 4. And this is all outside of the fact that you still have to start doing the actual programming itself, the work that you've actually got to do. How do you listen for understanding? How do you try and decipher what someone is trying to say? Sort of, how do you read minds? For example, an exciting project comes, lands on your table, and you are so excited. You've then got to realize, with excitement, you start saying a whole lot, and then your communication is sort of not easy to understand. Now, as a team, we've got to read what you're saying, try and decipher it without you actually putting it out there. Then that goes away from people that actually do not know how to put their points forward. They are here, they claim they are shy. We've got to try and read their minds. And sometimes if you read someone's mind, you read it wrong, right? And so all of those things you've got to set to some extent, be able to sort of try out. I hope I'm making sense. Then there's people like Mr. X who do not like admitting that they are wrong. Those things are things that you've got to look at, and it's part of giving feedback. If you go home and realize, I might have made a mistake, don't be like Mr. X and then just be arrogant and say, yeah, no, it's me. I'm the right one here. I'm correct. No. If you realize I might have made a mistake there, come back to the team and sort of give them the information. This is what I went home, reflected upon, and discovered I might have made a mistake. Can you go back, revisit this point, revise and confirm I made an error or it is the right thing? It's the most human thing to do. It's healthy for teams to do that. Now, these are conversations around constructive feedback. Maybe whilst I'm there, you nudge someone wrong and then they sort of react. A reaction will come in the form of someone will scream at you, someone will swear at you. It then causes a conflict. But in all of it, at the end of the day, you must sit down and say, this is what went wrong here. Come back, resolve, and then the feedback must be constructive to say, we were both wrong. You were wrong, I was wrong. This is where we got it wrong. You got it right there, I got it right there. And that is constructive feedback. So the conversation yesterday stopped at that, and we're looking at how you then give that constructive feedback, where we're delving deeper into exactly that. And again, I repeat, in this environment, like Mr. Maposa has highlighted, you will still find those issues, but they are small. When you get to a work environment, you get to a work environment where there'll be a boss who will tell you, go buy me lunch. And you'll be like, no, but I'm not here to buy you lunch. I'm not the lunch boy, okay? And you will then sometimes be triggered. Go out, buy lunch, come back. Just because you say this guy is my boss and I'd like to have a good relationship with him, right? And then it happens 2-3 times, then you discover I'm being taken for a ride here now. Do you see what I have to speak to this guy in a professional manner and still have a good relationship with him? In my opinion, that's a difficult setup. How do you tell someone I'm not your lunch boy when they are so arrogant? When they walk in, they're like, hey, where's my lunch here? I don't have water here. How am I supposed to run a meeting without water? And because you're the intern, you look around the table and you're still shocked. Am I being addressed like this? At the same time, you're standing up and you're running to the kitchen, you know, then how do you address that as a professional? You are indeed the newest member of the team, and you're still under a contract that says intern. Everyone's like a permanent employee. Those scenarios will occur. And again, notice how I have not gone into the actual work. You sit around the table, you give contributions. In your opinion, they are towards the actual task or the objective, the reason the team is put together, and you're undermined. How do you address those scenarios? Excuse me. At the same time, you then want to contribute, or you put forward your best foot and you contribute. How do you then make sure you cover all the angles that we're looking at? You constructively participate, effectively participate, and things like those. Excuse me. Now, then I wanted to quickly go, let me see, Mr. Maposa had sent me to page 51 yesterday, but I want to move on to writing a technical report, which is where I think my next 15-20 minutes will be. We've spoken about, with Mr. Maposa and with myself, we've spoken about participating in these meetings. We've spoken about the skills required there and things like those. In this particular module, then we want to go in and sort of look at, now we've got to compose this particular report. And the first step of writing your report, of course, is collecting the information for that report. You've got to collect, you cannot start writing a report and you then assume in your mind you have all the information. You've got to go out and collect that information. Now, the first thing that you've got to do, look at the bullets we've got here. You've got to understand the purpose of that report. It must be clear to you. You cannot, I think when we consistently have a conversation, and this is something I learned a long time ago. If you've got nothing to say, I'm not saying don't say it, but don't say it here. I hope you are hearing what you're saying there. In conversation, when we talk, if you don't have anything to say, you are better off silent. Am I making sense? We come back to writing a report. You've got to know why you are writing the report. If you don't know why you are writing a report, the purpose of that report, you will most likely not hit the target. Check the second bullet. Whatever information, facts, opinion, whatever that relates to this particular report, make sure that it's either confirmed or it's diagnosed as a fact. I don't know what other word to use for diagnose. You must confirm. You cannot write a report and, for example, the biggest problem you have is the internet is full of lies. I can go right now, put up a website and say a boy is a girl is a boy. It is a fact as far as my page is concerned. And no one's going to tell me to put it down. There is no internet police. So the internet in itself, when you do your research, you've got to make sure that source is a credible source, it's a reliable source, and whatever they're saying on that, you've got to make sure it's a fact. So when you're writing your report, you've got to make sure those facts, whatever you'll put in your report, is actually confirmed and it actually does exist. I hope I'm making sense. We look at the next bullet here. We're talking about correct equipment being used and all this, well, the equipment that you've got to use there, you've got to understand consistently. Let me use an example with references. You must reference whatever sources that you've got. You must check those sources and make sure that those sources are actually credible sources. It goes the same as well here. You've got to make sure consistently that you're able to confirm this is what I've used for writing the report and it is indeed accurate. If we talk of, excuse me again, correct equipment and tools being used to ascertain those facts, right? Let me set an example within a science lab. If you've got incorrect measurements on your equipment in a science lab, you might find that you'll mess up a whole lot because I'll set an example. If they say to put 2 cubic meters of something into a potion that you are creating, those of you that create love potions and that, and you put just a little bit more, you might actually kill someone in a science lab. So that's exactly a similar thing that we're talking about here. Make sure you are setting your facts. Make sure that whatever equipment that you use as well is quite accurate. It is going to present you as an inaccurate person if your report is not accurate in itself. Then you move on to the next step where you put together your presentation. So your report a lot of times will not come in as a 30-line report. A report is structured, and one of the things that you've got to structure in that report is you must put your facts in a certain order. A certain example, you can prioritize in terms of importance. You can prioritize in terms of logic. It makes logic if I start here and end there. Whatever structure you want to put together, you must put together an understandable report that will win or put across your point in an effective manner. I hope I'm making sense, colleagues. Then at the end, we're going to talk about consistently, if you write a report and it's inaccurate, what are the consequences there? What are the consequences there? In my imagination, they could be catastrophic, if that word has a meaning. It is disaster. If you write a report and your report is sort of not accurate, you will find yourself in the deepest of troubles that you can ever imagine. I think I've set an example in a science lab. You could actually kill someone if you put together equipment and it doesn't work right. In the learner guide, we speak of, and maybe let me move to that section, which is the first section here. There is an example around engineering, right? They say in engineering, one of the major forms of communication is the technical report. Now, if you look at that one statement alone, then you will realize how important this report must be. So if your report is not accurate, you will throw sort of the whole company just under siege. It might just be very, very catastrophic. But anyways, we'll talk about those results later. I want to emphasize, out of this report, it's a technical report. If you are not accurate in your report writing, you will find that you will throw the company in serious trouble. So you must produce a clear report, a concise report, and it must be professional. It must be professional. I hope I'm making sense. So you will then do your research. We've spoken about research skills, I think in level 4. If not, we will also touch on a few of them here. Now, all those skills, you've got to put them together and come here. Don't be a daily sign when you write reports. You must write factual reports, accurate reports, and they must make sense to everyone. Excuse me. Now, absolutely key as well, examples of reports that you know. Do you have any? Unmute and give me one. Reports that you come across in a work environment. What reports do you have in mind? I did say yesterday, open the learner guide. You can open it even now. We list these reports in the learner guide. Guys, you've never written a report or heard of a report. I have one in mind that I know has not sent anyone to prison. The Zondo Commission came back with a report. How many episodes of that report did they give us? Do you guys know? That's one report. It's a very, very, for me, it's a very painful report. It cost us millions and millions. What report do you know of? It can be a report. It doesn't have to be the ones in the learner guide, guys. Any report that you're familiar with, that you imagine will be required from you in a work environment. Silence in court. Guys, you don't even write a Sunday school report, Troy. Not Sunday school report, like a Sunday school.
A business report, sir.
Annual report.
Business report is one. Mangaliso, you've never written a trip report, something, nothing.
Annual reports.
An annual report. Someone said something else. It was a lady.
Financial report.
A financial report.
Interview report.
Interview reports. So there's a whole lot of product report. There's a whole lot list, a long list of reports that would be expected from one in a work environment. Now, a technical report is another report, and I think what you are seeing us doing here is emphasizing on this report communicating and being the center of all communication in a work environment. I hope I'm making sense, colleagues. I want to keep quiet, but before I keep quiet, I want to then move on a little bit faster and say, you've got to then plan for the writing of your report. I've started by emphasizing, if you've got nothing to report on, don't bother. But if you don't do the research, you don't bother. But move on. Once you've done the research, once you've understood what you've got to report about, once you've done all that, you've got to move on to the planning of the report. I'll switch presentations now to the presentation that I ended off with yesterday. Now, you've got to, again, when you do your plan, be strategic at how you are putting your presentation across. There's a couple of things to consider. How will you be presenting the report? Who is your target audience? When you analyze that audience, what type of critics are they? Will they be negative critics, positive critics? Will they look at your report and want to learn from your report? What background, what information do they have? If it's a technical report, for example, how much jargon can I put in on my report? So your planning considers all of these aspects. When you plan, then you decide what format am I going to put forward my report? That's where you decide what fields will be part of the report, what goes into the report, what is essential in the report, what is optional, what can I miss, and all of these things you've got to consider when you're planning out your report. There's a lot of things to consider. You are planning your report. You haven't started the actual report. What supporting material do I need? What extra material do I need in the report? What is it what language must I use? Who am I speaking to will dictate a whole lot of things that you are then going to be able to sort of plan and strategize around. And by the way, you putting a strategy in place allows the people that also will be eating from your report, they are able to then determine exactly what you're trying to put forward. But if you yourself don't have a plan, then when you put your report forward, you will get a magnitude of questions. They will be as confused as you were when you were writing that report. I hope I'm making sense. And out of fun and interest, I think I want to make jokes of this one. Consistently, I find good afternoon, Michelle. Right. I think I got something. Yeah, that's fine, Michelle. Are you joined with 2 devices? Normally happens when someone is joined with 2 devices in the session. Okay, I was poking fun at you know, when you are too focused on delivering what you know is in your report. Do you know what normally happens? When people ask questions about things that are not in your report but relate to your report, then a lot of people, and I've seen this happening quite a few times, a lot of people then get upset. No, why are you asking me about things that are not in my report? Don't ask, I don't know about that. But when you plan out what you're going to put in your report, those are the things you've got to consider. You cannot narrow your understanding of the content to the only topic that you're presenting about or the only item that you're presenting about. Understand your audience when you imagine them. They might be coming from different backgrounds. They might be having a broader understanding of the topic. They might also have their own inputs. They might also, so you've got to be open to that as well. I hope I'm making sense. So you cannot then narrow your audience and say, guys, don't ask questions about things I don't know about in my report. That could prove to say you did not plan for your report, then you are not properly prepared for this report. And you are then going to find, we look at your report and we're like, too many holes. Not that you did not do your research. You just did not plan for your research, therefore did not put your best foot forward in terms of you presenting it. I hope I'm making sense. Now, we also then want to propose a couple of things in writing your report. That's what I'm going to switch to now. My PowerPoint presentation, which I designed for 2 weeks, by the way. I was working hard designing a PowerPoint presentation. It's creative. You guys must give me a round of applause when you see it here. Now, when you write out that report, we say start with the first draft. And by default, you will have that. And I actually make it worse. I say have notes and then your draft. So you write notes on this side. There'll be ideas that you want to put later in the report. Have a notes section. Then write your first draft, but you have your notes that you keep checking there, right? You put together that first draft, and in that first draft, you put the main idea, you put the information, the main information there, and you use whatever diagrams that you've got, put it there, and it's part of your planning for the report. Decide how you're going to structure the report and do all of that. And when you then dive into writing the actual report, you will find that you are now sort of, even yourself versed about the content of your own report. When you structure it as well, it shows planning. I think we've conversed around your structure, your strategy, putting your facts forward in an understandable way. And you are also ready for when the audience says, I've got a question, and the question is, you've planned and you're ready, you're prepared for that. Let me switch my screens very quickly. And if you've got a question as well, I want to disappear now and ask Mr. Maposa to come in as well. But please do get your questions ready. I've stopped sharing, but my Pentium 1, that Mem Pascalina, by the way, Balema Potin, refused to approve that they buy me a new machine. It was Mem Pascalina, she refused. I was getting a brand new machine, an i32. Mem Pascalina said no, because I'm black. Where's my presentation? Guys, this presentation took me 2 weeks to present, to design. So I deserve a round of applause here. So this, as you can see, guys, this is my own work. I did not sleep the whole time. It was absolutely important that I do this presentation right. So if you look at what we've got here, then you sort of will have, in my understanding, when you're writing the technical report, you've got to come in with somewhat a strategy, consistently. You will then find at the end of it all, let me skip to this section where you are now writing your report. Whilst you guys see and are just happy about my report, my presentation rather, I want to start on this bullet here. So you've got to then look at, you want to present the report and it must be effective and it must be eloquent. I've touched base on a few of these aspects at the top, but in my presentation here, which is wonderfully created, I emphasize this, colleagues. It was my presentation. I took 2 weeks to design it. How beautiful it is. Look at the objectives of your report. Again, that's why I said, understand what you've got to write the report about. Do not start writing a report if you do not understand that. That also goes with then, what do you want to achieve at the end of the report? If you want to achieve your audience understanding your report, then you know how to write out the report. So it's the outcome and also your planning before you start with the presentation, with the writing of the report. I hope I'm making sense. So if you look at my screen here, in between, these are the things that you will find. You should identify at the beginning, who am I writing it for, right? Why am I writing the report? What am I covering in the report? So the content, or you look at my slide here, you'll see everything that is here basically speaks to, you want to deliver a powerful report and make sure that whatever outcome of that report is achieved. I hope I'm making sense, colleagues. then you will find a lot of times, I think I've alluded to this in an interesting way. I say people will come from different backgrounds. If you understand your audience, when you present your report and you know who's sitting down and listening to your report, you'll then, one, look at the questions on the right-hand side. What does the reader already know about the subject? These are the things you've got to go into. What do you need to tell the reader? Why does a particular reader need this particular report? What is the desired response from the reader? So if you consider all these things, what you will then walk into is you will, one, need to do this at the beginning of your report. You cannot walk into, you've submitted the report and then people are asking and punching holes into the report and then you're surprised. No. Take it all the way from the beginning and push it to the end. I'm writing this report, this is what I want to achieve, and consider all these things. I've got this quote. I quote, usually readers will have a technical or a background, engineering background, but it is the responsibility of a report writer to explain the specifics of the subject of the experiment, process, or project. Close quote. What you're looking at here in this my quote is you basically will have, yes, your audience, right? They will have their understanding, right? But it is your responsibility as well to go into the specifics of that particular report and make sure what you're doing there or what you're explaining or writing up in your report is quite substantial. I hope I'm making sense. Right. These ones are disturbing me here. Okay, I've checked them out. Let me see. Forgive me for a second. Right, let me see. I'm getting a request to zoom into this particular quote here. I wonder if I can. Or is it the whole presentation that I'm supposed to zoom into? My beautiful presentation, guys. You guys are jealous. You're not giving me a round of applause for my beautiful presentation. And I want to hand over to Mr. Maphosa at this particular slide here. But before I do so, I want to introduce the next aspect for him as well, so that it goes all the way to to the very end. So I'll leave him to jump in here. But look at what we're saying, colleagues, and then consider it quite at length. Then absolutely key as well. The last step of your report, or one step that is there as part of writing your report, is revising that report. So you've got to look at the first draft and you've got to improve on the first draft. Then once you've improved on the first draft, you'll have your actual report. And the last step, or the most important step of your report writing, is the proofreading step. So you don't write a report and submit. You've got to revise it first. And revising it also includes then what you've got to do as part of, one, proofreading. You get another person to come in and read the English in your report. I always find it interesting when I see a big person writing a report and the English looks like, and that English looks very shady. So get someone to proofread your report and sort of concur with you in whatever points you're putting on there. As well, proofreading assists in checking facts, statistics, whatever you've got in your report. You might find that you've got to have someone else that comes in and says, yes, I agree with you. Those statistics are quite correct. So it's not only checking the English, it's not only checking, you check, is there logic in my report? If you want as well to put yourself out on a ledge, tell them what to check for. Tell them what you were doing in the report. Ask them, are you picking up the logic that I was putting in there? I hope I'm making sense. Then you've also got to then, and I call it rehearsing. You've got to read your project, your report yourself before you expect someone else to read it. You've got to read it yourself and make sure that you're able to sort of make sense out of it, even yourself. Read it as a reader, not as the writer of the report. And then lastly, what that does is it prepares you for presenting the information, whether in a boardroom setup, but in a public setting, right? But before we go there, and I leave that as well to Mr. Maphosa, I will speak about how you've got to then look at where am I presenting it, how am I presenting it, to whom am I presenting it to, and all of that, I have gone way over and above my bit for today. And I want to bring in Mr. Maposa if I still have him in the session. I will still be here to entertain and assist with questions. But let me check. Mr. Maposa, are you there? Can I throw you under the bus here, Mr. Maposa, and leave you with this slide?
Hi, Mr. X.
Yes, sir. You are here. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I throw you under the bus now, sir? Can I sit down?
Okay. Thank you. It's fine.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for the beautiful presentation here. Hi guys, how are you?
Afternoon, sir.
So what I will do is I'll just continue from where Mr. X left off, from the presentation part here. So now, just give me a second. I just need to retrieve, if I can retrieve this presentation as well.
Am I unmuted? Yes, Mr. Maposa, you are welcome, sir. Thank you. I see the credit you are giving me for my presentation, sir. My beautiful presentation, sir. So whilst you find the presentation, thank you, sir. It's beautiful, ne?
It's beautiful, sir. Thank you so much.
These guys are jealous. Look at Michelle. She's jealous of my beautiful presentation. Mngam, is my presentation not beautiful?
It is beautiful, sir.
A very beautiful presentation. So don't ask me why it's not handsome and beautiful, but it's a beautiful presentation, guys. You can proceed, Mr. Maposa. I'm also here. I can scroll for you if you want me to scroll for you on the same screen, sir.
Oh.
You can
Okay.
just tell me move to that section. Move to that section,
so I'll just go through. Okay, just through the. Okay.
Yes,
so for now, this section is fine. So let me just say a few things here. So when it comes to the structure of a presentation of your technical report, so here, colleagues, they're simply talking about your structure of your technical report here. I'm going to show you a template of what a technical report looks like a basic idea of a template after this. So now, say that the structure of a technical report here, you should have certain features. Of these, the features are written here under where it says section, where is under the section part here. So the first part, or the most important part of any report, is the title. Like, there is no report that doesn't have a title. If a report doesn't have a title, which means I don't know how, like, what I can even define it as, because like whoever that you're trying to send that report to, or whomever that you're trying to show the report to, is not going to know what exactly the report is, or what is it for. So hence, now when they're saying like must include the title of the reports for assessment, or like whatever report that that you have, it must have a title. But now the title should be very relevant to the type of information that has to be presented. And then besides the title, and then there's also something called a summary. Your report also is supposed to have a summary. Now, a summary usually comes in the first page here. So your report must have a summary. So you must have the summary of the whole report there, including the important features, the results, and the conclusion. This is what they call an abstract. So I'm pretty sure in the reports that you have seen, when you open the very first page here, usually there's like a cover page, and then next thing, when you peruse through to the following page, and then there's usually like a title, then under the title, and then there's usually something like a paragraph that's written, usually it's around 4 or 5 lines, where there's like what we call an abstract, which is basically a summary, where they explain what the report is about, and then some features and some conclusion there. It's usually a very, very small summary, but depending, because now if it's a financial report, what usually they do is they'll just open, you open the report, and then you find maybe there will be 2 pages worth of a summary where they're actually explaining almost everything that you're going to meet whenever you read your report there. And then afterwards, and then there's a content. Content, these are numbers or list of all the sections and subsections and headings. So which means that this is what we call the contents page. Can you see that the summary comes before basically the contents? So now where you've got your contents page here lists everything that you are going to meet in your report there. And then besides, and then there is also what they call the introduction. The introduction states the objectives of the report, the comments on the way the topic of the report is to be treated, and then it leads straight to the report itself. So the introduction is like, I'm pretty sure you've seen even with your essays at school, and like whenever you're writing those essays and stuff, there used to be an introduction. Basically, an introduction, it states the objective of whatever that the point. Like objective is basically the point that you're trying to drive at. If let's say I want to look for a certain thing, and then I will state the objective there. If let's say the report is about fixing certain features, and then that introduction is to state that, okay, we're designing such and such, but there were problems that were faced, and those problems, and then list them. All that is dealt with in the introduction. But you do not stipulate the points in full, but you like sort of introduce them so that later then you can explain them in full. And then they say that must not be a copy of the introduction in the lab handout. Okay, we'll talk about this sometime later, like when they're talking about the lab handout. But like remember the learner guide that you guys have. In the learner guide, they actually stipulate that I think the report that they're talking about there is a specific technical report, which is lab inclined. So that is why most like they'll be talking about lab a lot. And then now the section which makes up the body of the report. So now this section here is divided into numbers and headed sections. So like you are going to meet a lot of like once you're in, after you've been introduced and everything, then you're going to meet the sections. The sections are different because you're covering a lot of different issues. So now those different issues there are numbered and they're headed. And then they've got subheadings, they've got subsections, they've got a section inside of a section and all that stuff. And all of them, they have to be in a logical order, because it wouldn't make sense now to have, let's say you start with a certain point and the next thing, and then you're diverting, you're talking about something else. Next thing you come back to that particular point that I spoke about in the first paragraph. That wouldn't make sense. Hence, it has to be in a logical order. And then the last part here is the conclusion. The conclusion, which is a short logical summation of all the themes that were spoken about, especially the ones that we dealt with in the section here, in the sections of a particular report. Mr. X, can you move over to the next slide, please? Thank you. And then now the next part here, and then they talk about the references. Now, remember in the previous page or the previous slide of our report here, of the presentation, we're talking about like what is supposed to be inside the report, like the details, the information, everything that you need. But now, when it comes to here in this part here, now here they talk about the things like references, bibliography, acknowledgements, appendices, or appendices if appropriate. So now, what they're simply saying in references, your report is supposed to have references. So because most of the times you will check that in your report that you have written, there are certain things that you have taken from other people, or there is information that you have drawn from somewhere else, or there is code that you have copied from somewhere. All that stuff needs to be referenced. Details of published sources of material referred to or quoted in the text, all that has to be referenced. And now there's a difference between referencing and bibliography. Now, bibliography, these are other sources that you have used, including websites and stuff like that, not referred to in the text. See that because there's some stuff that you will not quote, that you will not refer to in the text, but they're useful for background information or for further reading. So now, like there's some extra information that you've learned, some extra information that when you're busy doing your research, then you're going to bibliograph all that information. Then, okay, last time I was reading a quote from so and so. So that particular quote, but that's the reference. But now there's a book that you read, and then that book that you read, and then it actually sort of opened your mind on certain features. Then you bibliograph that. And then acknowledgements. Now, these are the list of people that helped you with your research. So always very important. Acknowledge each and every person that helped you. Whether you're a boss or not, acknowledge the people that helped you, especially to prepare your particular report, your proofreaders, your researchers, the people that prepare the report. Because like if there's one thing there, in most companies, you like, since you guys are going to, some of you guys are going to work, or most of you guys are going to work in these major companies, one of the things that you'll be doing the most is writing reports. And crazy thing, the reports that you write, you're not going to be making use of them. You're not going to be you're not going to be presenting these reports. Your bosses are the ones that are taking those reports. You hear your boss coming and say, prepare a quarterly report, and then you come and say, prepare what you call a yearly report, things like that. And then next thing, yeah, I've got a meeting, and then he's taking that report, compiling with other reports that he has received from other managers, and then he compiles and creates one major report, and then takes that report and goes and to present that report. You see, so now it's always helpful to acknowledge each and every person that helped you, or the person that prepared that report. If you're a boss, if you're one of those people that will take a report from other people and go and present it, it's always like, I know, I would like to thank so and so, and then like, who did this, and so and so did that for the work done, everything, acknowledge them. And then also any further material, which is essential for full understanding. These are appendices, like for instance, your graphs, your diagrams, your pie charts, your videos, each and everything that you might use or that you have used to make a point, and then you're going to put it under appendices there. Your appendices, they need to be there because they help you to understand better. So now, if on this note, just give me a second because I just need to get a report on something because, yeah. Okay, so now let me share this presentation of mine. It's just a window.
If Mr. Maposa's presentation looks like mine, do not be confused. It's me. This one is mine, and he has his. You see, it's not that. It's just that it's mine that's beautiful. Then it's Mr. Maposa's. Don't confuse things, guys. Ne?
Yours is properly designed, sir.
Yeah,
mine is just a web page.
Yeah, no. Mine is a wonderful, immaculate, super Mangovias presentation. By the way, I'm looking at who are not seeing on video, sir. I'm watching these ones hiding there.
Okay. So what I'm gonna do, it's refusing to appear here on my windows there. So what I'm going to do is I will share my entire screen. So my screen is a little bit packed with a lot of things. So don't mind.
Stop sharing from my side.
Okay. I'm pretty sure you see now. Can you see this?
Yes, Mr. TC.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This here is more like the cover page of a technical report. This is where it literally starts. So now you've given something like this, like for instance, technical report specification. These are specifications of a technical report. And then notice Your report, especially when you're designing your report, these are some of the features that you're supposed to see. Notice here, prepared by, we need to see who prepared that particular report, and then and the date it was issued, and what document version of that report is. Because remember, reports are supposed to be revised, isn't it? So when you're revising your report, we're supposed to have these document revision numbers. For instance, let's say we meet for a meeting, and then we've sent the first report. And then 3 months later, and then we add certain features on that particular report. So which means there has to be a second report on that particular thing. And then there is the number, maybe number 4, number 5, and then let's say maybe for the next 10 years, you are busy adding features, or you are changing this, you're changing that, which means also the document number also, or document version also has to change. So we need to see that the document version number, we need to see the date it was issued. Now the date it was issued is the date when this current version that you're talking about is issued, not the date when the original version was made. Remember that. And then essential use case specifications here, like, okay, like here, talks about a lot here. So now they're talking about the case ID, requirement ID. So not really, don't worry about this one here. So the requirements here. So now there are certain things that you deal with, especially if you're dealing with like with a technical report. So now here, if you're in a lab, for instance, there are certain things that you need. There are certain requirements that you need, and then those requirements have to be listed here under requirements. Like when you say it's case requirements, it tends to be a little bit confusing. But the bottom line is they're talking about the requirements here, and then those requirements have to be listed there. And then the overview here, simple talks about, which is basically your sort of an introductory or introduction, sorry, for as a more like a summary. This is where you're going to list some of these things. But guys, remember, this here is just a general version of a technical report. Like technical reports, sometimes they can be very, not sometimes, some of these documents you find that there are some technical reports that are like 200 pages long. Some of them can be 50, some of them can be 10, some of them can be just a page. So depending on the work or the scope of work, these reports are going to be different. So I'm pretty sure even you guys, like when you looked at your, is it summative or the formative? There is a question that has to have you guys designing a report. And then when you're designing a report, always follow the guidelines that we gave you. Like it's not just enough just to go on Google there and then you're going to download a document that you are going to see, or the first document that you're going to meet, and then you think that is actually enough. That is not enough, because now the more that you use those documents, the more that you use those documents, I mean the documents special that you find on Google, you're not going to learn much. Yes, you might get maybe, let's say, what you call this, a template. There's nothing wrong with that, so that you can see the idea, the general idea at the end. But always go back and look at the structure, because the whole point is the structure and the content. Is there a title? Is there a summary? Are there contents? Is there an introduction? Are there sections inside that explain whatever the technical report is about? Is there a conclusion? Are there references? Is there bibliography? Are there appendices, like all those pictures? And then have acknowledged the people that have helped me through. So all of those items there, they need to be there. Your report needs to be very comprehensive. It needs to cover all these aspects that you have. So now, I don't know if you colleagues can do understand what I'm trying to say. And Wanga, I don't know if Wanga is still available, but I will see if I can share. But I won't share this one. I'll look for, I think I've got another report somewhere on my computer that I'm going to share just to give you an idea. But please, guys, do not plagiarize my report. That is a report that I'm just gonna share so that I can show you the idea of what a report looks like, but do not plagiarize it. Because I know people will just go, the next thing it's just a copy and paste. Next thing I'm seeing my report having like 16 copies of it. So please do not plagiarize. I'm going to share something, but this is just for reference purposes so that you can see the what is it that we're talking about, to give you like a general consensus, a general understanding. So now, based on this, right? For you, when you're dealing with a report, can I do this? So now, when we're here, the saying that Mr. X spoke about this, collecting your information. So when you guys are designing your report, one of the this is the most important, like that was highlighted when Mr. X started, when he was talking about the collecting of information, the researching part. You cannot design a report if you do not research. You need to research. You need to research for you to be able to know exactly what you are doing, what exactly that you want to be writing about. You need to do your research. So you guys have to sit down. You have to come up with a topic, and then that you have to go through. You sit down, and then you want to write a report about. And then now they're saying that collect your information. Sources include library handouts, lecture notes, the library, references, books, journals. There's a lot of things that you can do. Like crazy thing, like when I was at varsity, one of the things that they used to make us do was to write technical reports on our lectures. So for instance, you've got a lecture, and then a lecture happens, and then maybe after like a semester, next thing they want you to write a technical report based on the lectures that you had. So you're reporting on a lecture delivery, you're reporting on the type of work that was given, the assessment part, and how the assessment was done. You see, that is also a technical report, but I'm not saying write a technical report about me. So please don't do that, because I'll hide it. I'll say I did not see it. So I'm kidding, guys. But anyway, now when it comes to your technical report, so just go through the stuff that you have. Do your research. Do your research, and then once you do research, and then you figure out exactly which topic that you want to focus on, and then you're going to write on it. But there's a lot of research that you need to do. It's very comprehensive. Okay, so now they're saying that important sources to collect information for writing any report there. Now the sources, they can be internal sources. For instance, if you're working in an organization, there is a lot of internal sources that you can use, and then they can be like organizations own self resources. You've got newspapers, magazines, you've got products, brochures, and you've got monkeys, what you call monthly reports, quarterly reports, things that I was talking about. That in most companies, they make you do this. They make you do this in most companies. And then you've got meetings, these meeting minutes there. And then you are the departmental meetings, you see, and then there's other information that is publicly available, e.g. You've got gazettes, the government gazettes, and then you've got market research products, you've got Google, which is a very big point. I know 99% of you guys are going to rely heavily on Google on this, but also there's books and publications also. There's no harm in doing that. And as I said, that is government stuff that you can go through to write your reports there. And then there's also competitors, catalogs, brochures, and then you've got sales literature and annual reports and things like that. And then also you can talk to other people. You can talk to people also. People also can help you collect information. See, so now, and then you've got your customers that you can talk to face and stuff. and then you can talk to experts, people that know better. You can always talk to them. And then you can also talk to your suppliers and things like that. So now, when it comes to report writing are basically based on that. They are based on the information that you have, because at the end of the day, no research, no technical knowledge, there's nothing that you can really do. There's no technical report. If you do not understand what you're working with, then it is pointless at the end of the day to do any technical report. You're just wasting people's time. And on that note, after you are done with everything that you have done, after you've prepared your technical report and everything, now the epitome of it is the delivery. How then do you present it? Because it's not just enough to give people the report to go and read. You also have to break it down so that they can understand. So there is the communication part of each and every report that you have. There's the communication part. So now, as it is, as we have it, you guys have got a simple task that is ahead of you. Okay, I'm calling it simple, but I don't think it's that simple. But you guys still have to go back in your groups again. You have to, even though you're going to write a report later, you can go back in your groups. And now, according to what Lerato had said last time, we are going to try to sit down in your groups. I'm pretty sure, like Lerato, I wasn't attacking you earlier. If it appeared like that, I apologize, but I wasn't attacking. I was just simply laying out an issue that has been discussed a lot, because there was a lot of issues that people needed to deal with, and then that was an issue that was discussed. But I've gotten to I've gotten to see that a lot of the people had some excuses as to why they couldn't attend sessions, especially when it comes to group discussions and stuff. That's what I was simply trying to address, trying to show you or prepare you for a life ahead. Because like here, you're only dealing with 5 people. Next thing you'll be working with maybe like 20, 25, things like that, which is a lot. So you need to be able to know how to deal with people in situations like that. Imagine now if those are just your colleagues, but if it's a boss, or you are a boss who has to be dealing with 20, 30 people that are under you, that are not doing what you're supposed to do. It's so difficult. So people need to learn how to, like, to deal with that. So yeah. So now, based on this, you guys have got a task, as I said. This present, according to writing this technical report, because someone was asking me about a technical report. So hence, it brings you to the second session here, which is session 2, where now there's the planning of there's planning of like on how to write that particular report. So now, for you to write a particular a report, there are certain things that have to be visited. So now there's the order of presentation of the facts that is supposed to be determined. There's appropriate headings that are selected for the report, and the facts that you have to deal with. You also have to deal with specific facts that are necessary for the report for you to be able to achieve the purpose that you're trying to push forward. Like we've seen a lot of reports that people write, but at the end of the day, when you read the report, and then you always ask yourself a question like what exactly did I read here? I don't even understand what the person was trying to portray. And if you get to a point like that, this is when you actually discover that no, like the report was poorly written. The report wasn't written in a proper way. Because if it was written in a proper way, the report will have facts that are actually, that are actually necessary to achieve its purpose. And also, all facts and figures are put together in a way the reader will be able to understand. Because that is the whole point, that the facts and the figures have to be understood by the reader. even if they might not be able to understand your calculations and everything, but at the end of the day, they're supposed to understand the message that you're trying to portray. And then now, when it comes to the planning of the report there's two aspects. One, there is the creative phase of planning. So now the creative phase of planning is what is basically dealing with the topics, the general idea, the topic from your researched material in a random manner. So like now next, arrange that, because like remember, whenever you're doing research, you will not, okay, like there's usually two types of people. Like there are people that are chronological researchers, where they research a certain topic. Like for instance, I fancy myself as a chronological reporter, researcher, because like I prefer, when I'm researching, I prefer to look at a specific topic, deal with that particular topic, then move on to the next topic, deal with it, then move on to the next topic, deal with it. But other people, they will research, like for instance, one thing. Like for instance, if I'm dealing with technical reports, I'll just go and read everything there is about technical reports, whether it's for a lab or it's for a computer programmer or it's for what. Like I don't really care. I just read everything. That is basically being random. That's what they're simply dealing with when they're saying that deal with these facts either in a random manner or in a chronological manner. So now, whenever you get your information like that, arrange that information into a logical manner, like what, regardless of what researcher you are, arrange the information in a chronological order. Reason is, so you want your information to be able to flow, because you do not want to confuse people with a lot of information. You deal with this topic, next thing you jump to another topic, next thing you go back to your previous topic, next thing you move to another one, you move to another one, then you come back to the first topic. See, like when someone is reading like that, they cannot mix the topics that are related, and it's so difficult. It's like your ideas, they're hanging. At the same time, when you're trying to fill them up, then you still leave it hanging. And then also you're confusing the people that are around, that are trying to read your report. And then afterwards, and then there is also like put the groups in a logical sequence, what cover the topics of your report. I was speaking about that there has to be logic in your report writing. And after you've done that, now when your information is logical, now it is easier for you to structure that particular report, because it's easy to structure a report that is logical in the terms, in the sense of sequencing. It's so easy. So now from there, now you can write a rough idea. Then now, after writing that rough idea now, and then you group it into headings, and then you give it to a proofreader, and then the proofreader will read, and then they'll say, oh, okay, now I understand what you're trying to say, but here in this aspect, I don't get it. It seems like your ideas are mixed up. Can you just fix this? Or maybe remove this. This is so unnecessary. Remove it. And then the facts that you have, if your facts they tally, and then the person like, okay, your facts they make sense. But if your facts do not make sense, then the person also will come back to you that, nah, your facts that do not make any sense at all. I don't understand what you're trying to imply. So when your report is structured, always write an outline or a rough draft that you're going to send over for proofreading and stuff. And then now, the audience. Now, the audience of any report is not always your intended target. So most of the times, I was explaining this to you earlier. I was talking about this aspect of having a boss. Your boss comes to you and says, write a report of all of the activities, or a report of your work that you have been doing in the past 3 months. So most of the time when you're writing that report, you're always writing in your mind, you've got your boss, and like your boss in mind, you're thinking that that report is for him or is for her. But like most of the time, you will realize that regardless of your background, the terminology that you're going to use terminology that your boss usually understands. But now, if your boss is a very technical person, then like when you're writing a report, which means you're going to write a report with a very strong technical, a very strong technical report with very strong engineering jargon. Now, with that, remember, one thing that you need to understand is also your boss, probably the reason why they said write a report is because someone went over to him and like, I would like to see a report of all the activities that have been happening throughout the entire month. So now, if all the activities that have been happening throughout the month, and then the boss says they want to see all those activities, so their boss also came to them and asked them, now, what if that boss there, the main boss, is not an engineering person? And then your jargon that you're writing is engineering related. How then would you deal with a report like that? See, so hence, every time whenever you're writing a report, that is why this thing is very emphasized here. Always check with your instructor to know who your audience is. So even when you're writing a report, it's always good. Sometimes maybe your boss might refuse to tell you, but it's always good to ask, sorry, boss, or sorry, sir, or if you're on a first name basis and then you use their name. If it's Tom, like, I'm sorry, Tom, but is this report for you or is for the higher ups? So most times, if the person is very reasonable, the person will be like, no, the report is for the higher up, so I have to take it over to the higher ups. And then from there, there's nothing wrong with saying, okay, in terms of the language, what kind of language can I use? Our technical terms, or am I supposed to use a language that can be understood even by laymen? And then they explain to you how exactly they want that report. There is nothing wrong with you trying to understand the audience that you're writing the report for, because you do not know whom you're dealing with. Now, if you write a report like that, and then now your boss or your higher ups there, they do not understand the jargon. The next thing, then it comes back and they're like, I know, can you please rewrite this, but submit it in a more friendly manner, something like that. See, sometimes those reports, they need to be published so that they can be read by anyone. So the information that is supposed to be in a report has to be it has to be meaningful. People should be able to make sense of it, whether it's someone who understands or someone who's in the field or someone who's not in the field. They're supposed to understand. And this will actually even be better for you, because it might lead to people giving, like, for instance, if it was like product knowledge, and then people will come, they might criticize your, positively criticize, since we've been dealing with that. So they might come and positively criticize your design, if it's a design flaw, and then say, okay, your design lacks ABC, can you please fix it? But if you're using too much technical terms, people just look at it and like, okay, they don't understand it. So you do not even have any correction there. And then hence comes here, there is understanding the target audience, like whom are you writing for? Do you understand the target audience? Do you understand whom are you communicating with? That is why now, if you check most reports, usually, I'm in the development space, and I've noticed that when I go through documentation, I meet a lot of technical reports, and most times technical reports are written for different types of audiences. I've noticed there's this one time when I was just going through some publication from another company. They released an app, but it was more open source. So now, when that app that they released, like when I'm saying open source means it's free to use for anyone, and you can even have the code if you want. That's what open source means. So now, when that company did that, and then they wrote documents for different groups. They had a document for the administrators, which means these are the people that are going to be managing the software wherever they are working. And then they had a document for developers. These are people that are going to be adding features and dealing with any problem that will come with that particular software, wherever the software is being used. So which means the administrator is going to look, is going to go to the to the developer and like, okay, we've gotten this software, can you help install it? Then they install it, and then they set up maybe the administrator account and the developer account, and then from there, and then the developer deals with the background stuff of how that operate, of that software, how it works and everything else. What is the administrator manages the information that is put in, how it's put in, and to whom it goes to. So now we use those two. And then the next document was written for the user, the person that is going to be using the software. And the language that was used during these, in these three documents was totally different. The language for the developers was like proper development language, like we had code, you had everything else, and talking about the coding tools and things like that, that a user might not understand. Then the administrator also was dealing with certain things, like their language was also related to administration issues. So now when you say that, so it's easy for you to understand how to write a document as long as you know exactly whom you're writing the document to. So now there are different audiences there. You've got your primary audience, you've got your secondary audience, and then you've got your tertiary audience there. So now primary audiences, these are groups that are supposed to receive the information first, like e.g. your immediate managers, that is your primary audience. So, and usually they are the ones that decide whether your report is good enough to move forward or not. And then the secondary audience, these are part of the audiences who are not really intended by the writer or the speaker. Like for instance, now your higher ups are going to be your secondary audiences there. So now these are the people that then when your immediate manager now is accepted your report, or your DevOps have accepted the report, they'll be like, okay, your report is nice. Then now we're going to represent it to the higher ups. Most higher ups do not have a lot of technical know-how, but these are what they call the secondary audience. Secondary audiences usually they do not have a lot of technical knowledge, unlike the primary audiences there. Well, then the last group are the tertiary audience. Tertiary audiences, these ones here are the comprise the different sectors that need to be informed or consulted about the beginning of any project. For instance, let's say now it was a project that was being proposed, and then the project went to your manager, and then your manager took it to the higher ups. Now the higher ups have approved it, and then now there's money that is needed. So which means now they need to go back to the finance that is tertiary. They're on the side there. Then they need to talk to them. They need to talk to the stakeholders, tertiary. See, other people that are associated with the company there, those are these form part of what they call the tertiary audience there. And then now in audience analysis here, and then they say that the audience, remember, an audience is the person that receives the message. So most of the times you cannot control how the audience receives. You cannot control how the audience is going to like receive your message, how it's going to apply it or not. You can't control that. But one thing is, you can tell if your audience is available to receive it or not, or if your audience is willing to like if they're interested in hearing your message or not. So the responsibility of the author is then to investigate before writing the recipients of the message and carefully plan to ensure that the audience will be able to understand its content. Hence, going back, when you're writing, you will waste your time if you write any report without a target in mind, because if you just write a report, the language that you're going to be using is going to be a problem to your superiors if you're writing to your superiors, or to the general public if you're writing to the general public. So you need to know whom exactly you're dealing with there. And then from there, then it will help you understand, because there's a lot of features there. There's characteristics that it works. There's gender, there's age, there's education level, there's cultural background, there's values, there's knowledge, there's position within the organization, there is the scope of work. See, and other things like that even boil up to the aspect of interest, like do they even like you or not? See, all of those things, they actually they have to be analyzed way before you start writing your report. You need to take all of these things into consideration. So now, on this note, I think today I'm just going to end here before I get to the general format here. We'll end here, and then so that you guys can go on your own at first, go and just look at different reports. I'm going to send you also like a 1 or 2 reports that I have. I'll see maybe tonight or tomorrow morning. I'll see when to send. So I'm going to send you out there's some reports that I have, and then maybe 1 or 2, and then from there, and then you guys also on your own just go and research. Just check what type of research, reports, that technical reports that you can investigate, that you can mimic, and see if you have to write a technical report, and then you see what kind of like how to write one, what type of information to put there, the type of research that you need to do, because all of those things are needed also. So on this note, as I said, I'm going to stop here today. Do you have any questions, any queries so far regarding what we have just done, or anything else in that order? Yes, Pussy. Edgar, any question?
No, sir. No, sir. So far, so good.
Do you have any questions, colleagues? Or we sorted? We fine?
Say, when do you think you'll need the report? So we prepare for it, sir.
Like isn't we said that the thingy, the formative, we want it by Friday next week, the formative for the entire module. So which means the report I might need, because there is a group activity that has to be done concerning those reports. So that one, I always prefer you guys to go over the weekend and do whatever that you guys need to do, and then you present for me on Monday also. So yeah, but I'll communicate a lot more tomorrow, because tomorrow is Friday, and then I'll communicate more tomorrow to see if I've got the like if I've given you enough time. Mr. X, I saw a hand.
I'll talk about it further tomorrow. I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So yeah, as Dumsani, I think yeah, it is gonna like let's talk about it tomorrow, and then tomorrow we're going to discuss it in detail, because I need to see like it's also based on time, because like the time has to be fair also on your side, guys, so that you write something that is presentable, something that actually makes sense, because we do not just want to give you something that's like I don't want you guys just to do something on a fast note so that you can deliver just because. So it has to be something that is like conducive and productive. Pascalina?
Hi, sir. My question is very briefly. I just wanted to know the technical report, should it be within the IT space, or we can look at other industries?
Okay. Preferably, I'll prefer something in the technical space. But if there is something that is technically related, like I heard Mr. X giving, I don't know if you was making a general assumption, or you was appointing you guys according to your strengths. And then if it's like that, then I think I can accept a report, because like, remember, at the end of the day, when it comes to even the tech space has got a lot of fields. Like, we've got people that are in finance, but in the tech space. We've got lawyers, but in the tech space. You see, so all of those people understand. So, like, if it's a report that is based on that, but even if you're in the other space, like the finance, the tech, the HR space, but it's still in the tech industry, I think that is fine. I will accept that. I see another hand. Is it Shelley?
It's okay, sir. Sorry.
Wesley? I see your question here. So giving a report is like giving feedback. To an extent, yeah. To an extent, yeah. To an extent, yeah. Giving, like, a report is like giving feedback, but there is more to it, because remember, you are reporting, that is basically giving feedback, because the report is actually a feedback document, but it can have more detail, and it entails more. But in layman terms, yes, a report is basically giving feedback, whether on future products or on current. Michelle, for now, just go on your own today. Go on your own and do the research. Just go on your own and research on technical reports. Like, look for a technical report and check how it looks like and the structure of it, and then compare it to the learner guide, with what we've written in the learner guide there, and then just go through like different technical reports that you can see from different companies. Okay, do you have any more questions, colleagues? Mr. X, do you have anything that you need to say?
No, not really. So I think, as well, I was anticipating that I would have questions or inputs from the guys. I have nothing, sir. But we can stay around and chat until 6 p.m. I don't mind. It's nice to chill here until 6 p.m., sir. I don't mind. I don't mind. We work from home, after all. It's right.
Except for me.
I'm kidding, sir. I'm kidding. No, I have nothing, sir. I have nothing. Thanks, colleagues. If there is nothing, thank you from my side for being here and giving us your ear and time. We really appreciate your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, colleagues, if let me see, Tsepo is saying send a report if you have, so that we can actually see an example of a report. Okay, Tsepo, I'm gonna share one, say maybe tonight, but now the platform. Okay, I'll talk to Mr. Sponelli and see if there's a place where I can share one. Then if not, then I might use WhatsApp. But I'm gonna talk to Mr. Sponelli and see if I can send it on the portal, and then we'll let you know. We'll let you know. So if there's no further questions, then I think we can end the session here. And then tomorrow we're just going to continue from where we left off. And then, yeah, tomorrow we're going to continue where we left off, and then we're going to discuss that issue about the formative. and that writing of the technical report. We're going to talk about it tomorrow, because like there's just a little bit that we need to cover, and then so that we can give you. But for now, as per request, please go do your research and check. And then also at the same time, just go through templates if you can find any. And then for those that won't find, just gonna share one or two of those samples so that you can see what we're talking about when we're talking about a technical report. Okay, so yeah, on this note, colleagues, have a good day. I think we can end the session here today. Have a good day, and yeah.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.